Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, we're going to take a little bit of a break from Sixers Knicks and talk about some very interesting reports. Looking ahead to this offseason, Philadelphia has the most cap space in the entire NBA, and according to reports, Philadelphia expected to have interest in LeBron James and Paul George. First, Tyrese Maxey last night. Incredible performance. One of the best that we've ever seen in the playoffs for this organization of all time. And it goes down alongside the Reggie Miller game at Madison Square Garden, what Michael Jordan did at the Mecca MSG. That is elite territory right there. So your one-word reaction to Maxey's insane Game 5 outing. Also, speaking of this series, Game 6 watch party right here on 76ers Now. Thursday night. I can't believe that this game is going to get tipped off at 9 o'clock Eastern time. It's not going to stop us from doing a watch party. We'll be live with our coverage beginning at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. on the West Coast. So subscribe, hit that bell icon, turn those notifications on. Therefore, when we go live, when we push out a show, you'll be able to join us and stay in the know. And with that, let's talk about this juicy buzz right now. And this is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for choosing us today. So many great content options out there. Anytime you decide to kick it with us here at Chat Sports, we certainly appreciate that. LeBron James to Philadelphia. Let me say that again. LeBron James to Philadelphia. How does that sound for everybody out there? I tweeted this out the other day, and give me a follow on X at Chase_Senior, that if LeBron is serious about winning an NBA championship, he has to leave the Lakers. That organization, that roster, the coaching staff, it's not good enough. And if he wants to win a title, he should go to the Golden State Warriors, the Miami Heat, Philadelphia 76ers. You could throw a reunion with the Cleveland Cavaliers in there just because he's already played for that organization twice and he's from Ohio. But the three first teams that I mentioned, I think, give him the best opportunity to win a title. And it's crazy. LeBron is 39 years old, and this year, statistically, since entering the league in 2003, was one of his best seasons. He really is defying father time in a Tom Brady type of way, and the Sixers could have interest in him for those reasons. Brian Windhorst, who's always had the inside track on everything going down on the LeBron front because he covered him when he was playing for St. Vincent St. Mary's in Ohio as a beat reporter, said this: I think LeBron intends to opt out of his contract and become a free agent for the first time since 2018. And there's always been chatter around LeBron. Is he going to go here? Is he going to go there? Is he going to force a trade here? Is he going to force a trade there? I think this offseason, if he decides to continue playing, it's going to be fascinating to see what he chooses. LeBron was asked if he's played his last game as a Laker, and his initial response after losing to the Denver Nuggets in that first-round playoff series, I'm not going to answer that. And then he took to X to talk about his future. I've heard a lot of reports about my future. I said it last night. I'll say it again. I do not know yet, as I'm only thinking about spending time with my family and friends. When I know about speaking with the fam, my counsel, as well as my representation about it, then I'll let you guys know. Until then, love King. LeBron next team odds. Let's go. Philadelphia 76ers at 8-1. And in years previous, I've said there's no way. I've said it wouldn't really be a good fit. I just don't see it. I don't think it's going to come from Los Angeles to Philadelphia. The climate, the weather, the fan base, the location. He strikes me as a guy who wants to stay in LA, maybe go up to NorCal and play for the Warriors because he loves Steph Curry. Maybe he goes back to Miami to give Jimmy Butler another right-hand man for a Heat organization that he knows well. But damn, I think he'd be a really, really good fit alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. And Philadelphia has the money to pay him. Now, the Warriors leading the charge here at 4-1 odds, followed by the Cleveland Cavaliers at 5-1 odds, New York Knicks, who I've grown to hate, at 6-1 odds, Bulls at 7-1 odds, and Philadelphia top 5 at 8-1 odds. Kevin O'Connor, like us, of course, knows ball, and said this. Out east, the Philadelphia 76ers inquired about trading for James ahead of February's trade deadline. So clearly Philadelphia would have interest in using its cap space on LeBron this summer. So there are some ties here. We're following the paper trail from what Daryl Morey inquired about in lead up to the deadline in February. More from KOC. It's worth noting that Bronny James could transfer to Duquesne, an Atlantic 10 conference school in Pittsburgh, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. LeBron's high school teammate, Drew Joyce, is the head coach. And Philadelphia to Pittsburgh is just a short flight. So too is Cleveland, by the way. It's not far at all. In fact, they're neighboring states. But going back to LeBron and his production this year in 2023, 2024, it's just crazy to me. I know that LeBron invests millions of dollars into his body as far as recovery, training, nutrition, and he takes his craft very, very seriously. But for him at 39 years old, and he turned 39 in December, 40 this upcoming December, to average 25.5 points per game, 7+ rebounds, 8+ assists, 54% from the field on 41% from three is crazy in 71 games played. And when you stack up those field goal numbers throughout his entire career, the 41% is a career high for LeBron on, let's see, how many attempts per night? On 5.1 attempts. And then the 54.0% from the field is top 5 of his entire career. So he can still play at a very high level, and he showed this year still pretty durable too. And then his playoff numbers in that 5-game series against Denver, in which Los Angeles can't get over the hump against Denver, and Jamal Murray continues to be their kryptonite. LeBron wasn't the issue. 28 points per, 7 boards, 9 dimes, 56.6% from the field, and almost 39% from three. He was playing, and he was playing well against the defending NBA champions. Can you imagine this? The potential starting 5 for Philadelphia, where you have Kyle Lowry, affordable deal, hometown discount, Tyrese Maxey, blossoming superstar. If you didn't know, now you know. Nicholas Batum back on a contract that is affordable and makes sense for the team and him. As your 4, you free up the money from Tobias Harris, and you give that to LeBron James. So a starting 5 of Lowry, Maxey, LeBron, Batum, Embiid, that is a legit starting 5. And hopefully after the Maxey max contract extension, and my goodness, he's upping his value, you can round out the bench a little bit. Chip, this is kind of a dream scenario for me. Not going to lie. LeBron James, I love the game. Him having to feel the need to speak about everything going on in the world becomes a little bit fatiguing. But shoot, from a basketball standpoint, this is enticing.
Yeah, and, it's a little bit of a pipe dream because clearly the Sixers have interest, right? That's not the question. Does LeBron want to come here? Does he want to keep playing? He could just retire. Does he want to play with his son? There's so many factors at play here that could determine where LeBron plays next season. But from the Sixers' perspective, because that's really all we can worry about right now, we can't worry about what LeBron wants to do. But for the Sixers, I know some people are more in the camp that they want to spend all this money the Sixers have on elite role players and build the team around Embiid, Maxey, and then get other guys that can round out the starting 5, guys off the bench that can help but also not take away all these looks from Embiid and Maxey. But if you have a chance, if LeBron comes to the Sixers and says, I want to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, how do you say no? You cannot say no. So look, we'll see as more details come out and LeBron, says what he's going to do with his future, but I'd be absolutely all in. You'd be paying him a ton of money, I know. He's going to be 40, I know. But if you have a chance to get LeBron James on your team, I don't care if he's 45, you go ahead and you do it.
Yeah. I'm about it, man. Give him a blank check. How much do you want, LeBron? Come to a city that will absolutely love your preparation, your dedication to the grind, the way that you play basketball, and the fit alongside Maxey and Embiid. And by the way, I'm just going to say this. LeBron James tweeted out after the Maxey dagger, Maxey, does he want to be a Sixer? Do you want the Sixers to sign LeBron? Y for yes, N for no. Let us know down in the comment section here. And coming up next, the Sixers continue to show interest in Paul George, who's not the player caliber of LeBron James, but I think he too would be a very good fit on this team as well. More on that just around the corner. First, today's 76ers Now is sponsored by Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. You can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money. The Wednesday special for Prize Picks. James Harden, going to give credit where credit is due, has been very good in this series against the Dallas Mavericks. That game will tip off just after 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. More than 17.5 points. Kawhi Leonard continues to be hurt. I actually think the Clippers are better without Kawhi. Luka Doncic, less than 52.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's dealing with a knee injury. Had a lot of kinesio tape on the knee at practice the other day. And then Bam Adebayo, more than 1.5 blocks and steals. I feel like that is just a shoo-in right there with how much the Heat are going to rely on him, but how active he is on the defensive side of the floor. Pick more, pick less. Pick Prize Picks. Withdraw your winnings all within the app and win big money. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Now, the Sixers continuing to show interest in Paul George. If the Clippers lose in the first round, will the Clips blow it up? Will Paul George look to go elsewhere? And the Clippers never gave Paul George that contract extension, so will he feel slighted by Steve Ballmer and company? Here's what Ramona Shelburne had to say. There's 2 teams that are paying very close attention to Paul George. The Orlando Magic and the Philadelphia 76ers, because both of them have the money to throw at him and have a need for a wing just like him, a veteran guy. And as we talked about here on the show, both Philadelphia and Orlando, some of the most cap space in the NBA, with Philadelphia holding the top spot. But Chase, why would the Clippers let Paul George go? It doesn't make any sense. Here's why. Brian Windhorst. It's just a matter of whether the Clippers are going to give him the max, which is something they don't want to do because they didn't give it to Kawhi. And the Clippers are in an interesting scenario here because they're going to open up this new arena. They've done really nothing of significance with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Now Kawhi is hurt once again. The Paul George max contract projection, 4 years, checking in at $212 million. And there's certainly a lot of risk there for a player who is older, a player who does have an injury history, and a player who is 33 years old, about to be 34 May 2nd, and all things considered, has struggled to stay on the floor consistently. But when he is on the floor, and this past year he's a very, very good two-way player. And at times against the Knicks, you've wondered, what would this team look like with a wing who's trying to eat? Unlike Tobias Harris, who seems a little bit timid and doesn't fit in as far as his offensive role on this team. Now, to his credit, played awesome in that Game 5 do-or-die game for Philadelphia. But he's not Paul George. 22.5 points per game this year for PG, 5 boards, 47% from the deck, 41% from three-point range. So far in the playoffs, he was awesome in that must-win game against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 4 to send that series back to LA, tied 2 games apiece. I'm actually really looking forward to that Game 5 at Crypto.com Arena here tonight on Wednesday. 21 points per game, 45% from the field, and 42% from 3. Now, PG has had some no-shows throughout a lot of playoff games and series. Game 3 was kind of the PG experience. You're like, where is Paul George? Comes back out in Game 4, plays good ball, and hit one of the most difficult contested shots that you'll ever see. From the corner, over the backboard, it was filthy. Chip, Paul George, you shared your thoughts on LeBron. What do you think about PG-13?
I know a lot of Sixers fans have soured on the idea of adding Paul George because of the injury history you mentioned and, the playoff, I won't say collapses, but the poor performances we've seen in the past. People are kind of scarred by that history. But me, I'm a big fan of Paul George. He's been healthy this year and relatively great the entire season. And even this playoff run, I mean, you saw over 40% from three. Look, what he would bring, obviously not the same type of player as LeBron James. I'd probably rather sign LeBron, even though he's way, way older, because you're going to have to pay either of these guys $50+ million a year.
Yep.
And who would I rather commit $50 million to? It's probably LeBron. But with Paul George, you get another tough shot taker, a tough shot maker, which could you imagine if the Sixers had Paul George in this series? The series might be over already.
Yeah.
Just another guy that can, one, create his own shot, which I think is one of the biggest deficiencies of this Sixers current roster is outside of Maxey and Embiid. And Embiid right now, with the leg, can barely even create his own shot.
Yeah.
Outside of those two, you don't really have anybody that can go off the dribble and hit a step back three, get to the mid-range and rise up, attack the basket all the way. You know, Oubre did a little bit of that, but since the series started, hasn't been able to do that.
Yep.
So I think Paul George, you know, despite the injuries, despite the playoff performances in the past, I get people are scared, but man, I'd be all in on Paul George as well if LeBron goes back to LA or goes elsewhere. He's just a special talent who, yes, is getting older, but I think is still playing at an elite level.
Yeah, the issue that you run into with getting that third superstar, and we saw it this year with Phoenix, we've seen it with the Lakers having LeBron and AD, we've seen it with a lot of teams. We've seen it with Philadelphia. Shoot, when you bring in a third star, your depth gets absolutely obliterated. And that's an issue because in a playoff series, you need a good rotation. I mean, the Knicks are in a spot right now where they have 7 guys. They have a 7-man rotation. That's not sustainable, I don't think. For a long-term playoff run, you need those bench players to come in. That's why it was important for the Sixers to sign Ricky Council. And so that's why it's important for Philadelphia to have Nick Batum. That's why they've been hurt by not having a Robert Covington, a DeAnthony Melton. That depth, so underrated. Everybody becomes obsessed with the big three, the big three. What about Mario Chalmers for that Heat big three team? What about Ray Allen? People forget about that. They lose sight of that. So pick one to sign. LeBron James, Paul George. Who would you rather go with? And if I'm going all in, for me, it's LeBron James. Let us know. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you Thursday. Game 6 watch party. Do or die, baby. Do or die.